Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News at 5. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
And I'm Tom Sherry. Whitney has the night off. Spokane County Fire District 8 is putting out a warning for the high fire danger in the area. Yesterday, they tweeted out to be aware of dangerous fire conditions with these high temperatures for this upcoming week and weekend. Fire officials say the majority of fires are human caused.
So with those high fire dangers comes high temperatures, of course. So here's what you need to know to stay safe during that scorching heat. So make sure that you and your pets have plenty of drinking water. That seems obvious, right? People 65 and older are at higher risk of heat illness. And if you haven't already, make sure your air conditioners are working. It is Thursday, of course, which means it's time for Tom Sherry's barbecue forecast. So, Tom, we're going to talk about the scorching hot temperatures, but first, I want to ask you about what's on the menu tonight.
I think it's going to be fun. I'm going to be heading out there a little bit later on the broadcast. We're going to be doing Mexican burgers with a chipotle slaw. And the Mexican burgers are half beef, half chorizo, and we've got some adobe peppers in there. And so there's a bit of heat going on with these burgers, but we'll cut that heat with that chipotle slaw. So we'll grill those up for you at 6 o'clock tonight. Weather-wise, should we talk about first weather?
Yeah, let's do it.
We've got a heat warning now in effect across not only the Spokane area, but the entire Pacific Northwest. You could, well, we've got Thomas Patrick out there in the, Thomas, I guess we're going to go to you first.
Yeah.
So let's do this right now.
Yeah,
Thomas, tell
not?
us about the triple-digit heat that's going to affect the area.
Yeah, obviously the temperatures are going to be incredibly hot. You know, today was a balmy 90 degrees, and I had my thermostat out here in the sunshine was as hot as 107, but this is not uniquely a Spokane issue. This is a Pacific Northwest heat wave that's going to encompass the area. I think I accidentally fast forward past my graphic that I was going to show you, but know this, you can't just take the RV, drive a couple dozen miles away to escape this kind of heat, because while the all-time record high is 108, as we've heard in Spokane, well, Seattle's going to be getting into the hundreds, Portland's going to be in the 110s as well, Boise's going to be in the hundreds. Pretty much everywhere across Washington, Oregon, and Idaho is going to be experiencing heat up to these dangerous levels that you're forecasting, and we're going to see just how hot that is in Tom's forecast coming up.
Thomas, thank you very much. We'll check back with you later in the forecast. Well, as we prepare for these brutally hot temperatures this weekend, the city of Spokane has added an additional way to stay out of the heat. This afternoon, Spokane Mayor Nadine Woodward announced a temporary cooling center at the Loof Carousel in Riverfront Park. Our Morgan Trow was out in the sun today and got the very first-hand look at that new center ahead of the heat wave.
Trying to beat the Spokane heat can be difficult, especially if you're in Riverfront Park. Normally, you would just have to go in one of the splash pads, but now you can cool off without getting wet. Temperatures are set to hit triple digits in Spokane during this Pacific Northwest heat wave. We may even see the hottest days in years.
We want to make sure that there's adequate space for anyone who needs to be able to come cool off. So it's open to anybody in the community.
The city of Spokane is opening multiple cooling centers this weekend. Spokesperson Brian Coddington says they knew they had to act quickly, changing the Loof Carousel multi-purpose room to an air-conditioned public space. It will be open from 11 in the morning to 7 in the evening starting this Saturday.
It's going to be a warm weekend and early next week, and so we want to make sure that people stay hydrated as well. We'll have some other water to supplement people that have bottles. They can refill their bottles here, but for those who need to grab something to go or don't have a water bottle, we'll be able to supply them with some water.
Coddington says Coca-Cola and Dasani donated 1,300 bottles of water to the center, but this isn't the only place you can go. He says there's plenty of space still available in the shelter system, as well as at public libraries. The only problem with the libraries is that they're closed on Sunday, which is set to be the hottest day. He says this is due to staffing and budgetary reasons.
We recommend using alternative methods, so certainly come here if you need to, seek one of the shelters, go to businesses, go to the mall, those kind of places where you can get a little bit of air conditioning, a little cooling, and get out of the heat.
He adds the Loof Carousel Center has room to expand in case of an overflow of people. The cooling center will stay open until the end of the heat wave. Reporting at Riverfront Park, Morgan Trow, KREM 2 News.
And if you'd like to know more about this week's heat wave, ways to stay cool, or how to save money on your energy bill during this extreme heat, we've made it easy for you. Just text the word HEAT to 509-448-2000 and we'll send a link directly to your phone.
Well, this week we have been showing you body camera footage from the investigation into Sam Martinez's death. He was a 19-year-old Washington State University freshman who died of alcohol poisoning after an event at the Alpha Tau Omega fraternity. We also spoke with one of Sam Martinez's close friends. Nicole Ballard said she met Martinez at camp 8 years ago. Since then, they grew so close that Ballard considered Sam a little brother. She spoke with him every day leading up to his death, including on the night of that fraternity event. She says she was concerned about some of the things that she heard were happening at the event. 15 people have now been charged in connection with Martinez's death. Those charges are furnishing liquor to a minor. That is a gross misdemeanor. But Ballard feels that that just isn't justice.
I don't think that there'll ever be justice for Sam, considering that he never gets to come back. He's gone, and unfortunately, we don't get to go back and take back those events that happened.
We also spoke with Ballard about how she'll remember Sam, and you can hear more from her and see the interviews police did with some of those charged during a KREM 2 News investigative report. That's coming up this Monday.
Now to more of our top stories tonight. Dozens of people unaccounted for as the search for survivors continues in the rubble of a condo building that collapsed in Miami. At least one person has died, but search and rescue crews feared that number could be much higher. The building, located just outside of Miami, came down at around 1:30 this morning. Look at that. First responders have been making their way through the rubble in search of survivors all day long. Rescuers pulled dozens of survivors from the tower earlier this morning. Officials do not know how many people were in the tower when it fell. At this point, it is unclear what caused that to collapse. But my goodness.
Just tragic.
Incredible. There's surveillance video of it coming down,
right,
and it just comes down like super quick.
And
right?
it was
like
built
pancakes.
in the 80s and stood all this time and then just fell apart.
Hearts go out to those families out there searching for loved ones.
Well, still ahead on KREM 2 News, Washington Governor Jay Inslee is extending the state's version of the eviction moratorium. We're breaking down what this means and everything that renters should know next.